a creative meeting and event space, and we also produce our own series of events. This Matchbooks series is a quarterly review of books on creativity and innovation in business, and it's meant to entertain, educate, and inform our audience and our clients and our friends and colleagues.
Let me introduce Brendan for you. Brendan Sullivan is the co-author of The Living Wills, and he has quite a long experience in improvisation. He was at the Improv Olympic many years ago as an actor, and then started working for Brandmeier's radio show, and that's where we met because I was the producer of Stephen Gary's show at the time. And since then has become this creativity coach, and we'll be discussing a lot of that while we're here this evening.
Great, thanks. This is Rick Kaempfer, my co-author. Rick is a Renaissance man. He's a former radio producer. He produced the Stephen Gary show for a long time and has the scars to prove it. He also produced the John Landecker show. Rick is also the author of several other books, including a novel called Severance, which is a satire of the radio industry.
Yeah. Very thinly disguised.
He's also written the Radio Producer's Handbook, which is a textbook now for people in college learning to produce radio. And what we'd like to do tonight is to lead this wherever you want it to go.
You know, as co-authors, we had to find a place that we could work together. And I didn't want to go to Brendan's house and work in his little office, which is about the size of this table. And he didn't want to come to my house and go in our basement and, every 5 seconds I've got 3 kids, he's got 4 kids, and constantly being interrupted. So Brendan knew about the Catalyst Ranch. And we met here several times while we were writing the book, right down the hall. And most of the storyline was improv through these techniques that we'll show you tonight. Right here, right down the hall from where we are right now.
We didn't plan it, but it was the structure of a herald. A herald is an improvisational theater piece that starts with one suggestion from the audience, usually something simple and everyday, and then scenes come out, and then they start to intertwine. And in the book, those are the kinds of things that happen.
When he told me that he wanted to write with me, my first thought was it would be a comedy, because we both basically are comedy writers. I wrote a satire. He was in improv, and in improv generally, especially the kind of stuff that they did, was humorous. Plus, then we wrote for radio shows that were comedy shows, and it turned out to not be a comedy at all, which was probably the biggest surprise to me. It's the first thing I've ever written that is not a comedy.
Was that intentional or just wasn't funny?
That's a good point. Maybe it was a comedy. It's just a really bad comedy.
That's right. So mind maps are ways to get the big picture of an idea. And now in this case, we use the mind map to create a 3-dimensional character.
And at some point, and our wives will tell you this, they can't tell which one of us wrote which chapter. And we don't even remember anymore on some of these chapters because we were so collaborative in the process. We wrote it separately, then we came here and we edited it together, and then we would go back and write it again, and by the time it was all done, we didn't even know anymore.